you say, darling?
Let's go.
Oh, let's go, Mango.
Visit until 4 o'clock. Yesterday 3 o'clock.
It closes at 4, but last admission 3 o'clock.
What name of this?
This is like Guernsey's own little jungle, isn't it? And then you find this hidden place. The Hauptverbandplatz. Very interesting. This is part of a trail of interesting places on Guernsey. This is number 6, the underground hospital. And it's called the Occupation Trail, World War II. Of course, these islands were occupied by the Germans in World War II. It's very, very close to France. It's British, but miles from the UK.
And let me have those tickets back on the way out, so I know you're safely out.
Do you ever lock anybody in here?
Not yet.
Not yet. So they collect the tickets on the way out.
The worst thing is coming in the morning and opening the door and finding someone standing there. Not yet, not with me.
Now, could I have in...
Find out how the island folk, who were my friends and neighbours, survived in prison by Hitler's army. People you've known well, or thought you knew well, when really faced with difficult circumstances, the naturally kind, good-hearted people can become saintly. And those with a mean streak become absolute.
In French and in German.
Just what they are.
Behind me there is a movie playing. It's narrated by John Nettles, who used to be very famous in
This morning,
British
the
television.
ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note, stating that unless we heard from them,
I just remembered I have a book signed by John Nettles. I met him, many years ago. He kindly signed a copy of his book, which I happened to have just bought.
What now? What now?
That was on the adjacent island of Jersey. See the hand grenade there? You want to keep well clear of that.
25 years, the German armies were on the march. And it was a war that Hitler had expected to fight, he didn't want to fight. But fighting he did, and with the suddenness and the ferocity that took the ill-prepared Allies completely by surprise, as the Wehrmacht hammered through the Low Countries, on towards Paris, siding towards Dunkirk, and down towards the Cherbourg Peninsula, Granville, and some other. Northwestern Europe, should they run away, the British mainland, as fast as they could, or should they stay put, tough it out, see it through? Terror, uncertainty, but everywhere.
Seems crazy, doesn't it, that an island full of cattle, famous for its milk, and the Nazis came and we had to have milk rationing. The cinema was still running though. You could still go and see a film. Life went on. People still went dancing. It's a warning here about delayed action bombs. Not not just Guernsey, there's a mass grave on the adjacent island here of Alderney. Many slaves died here, many of them possibly buried, just thrown in their dying last breath into this very concrete here. Within these walls there will be dead bodies just thrown in by the Nazis as the slaves died.
Unfinished link panel.
Damp, cold, and well underground, with the bodies of slave workers in amongst this concrete. It's a very spooky place. The atmosphere here is very, very muted. These would have been full of beds. Not for the slaves. If they got sick, they just threw them into the concrete or into the sea. For the soldiers brought in from France, Belgium, Holland, maybe even from the Eastern Front, which would be against the Russians. This was a big hospital for German soldiers. There are a lot of these wards, I show you. Just walk, you see all the different tunnels going off. Each one of those up there is another tunnel like this, look. It's a massive, massive undertaking. You can see the ones that aren't concreted, that massive building project this was. In fact, the engineer, I think anyway, Fritz or Franz Todt, who designed the Autobahns in Germany, a very famous German engineer, famous worldwide, he actually oversaw some of the buildings here in the Channel Islands. And I mean, these will just be here forever and ever. They built to such a very high standard, a very typical German quality. You can imagine this is been used over the years for films to be made. It's difficult to convey the size of this underground building because there are just so many of these wards crisscrossing between the main tunnels. And just go on and on and on. I can understand when we signed in here that they were anxious that we did sign out when we left to make sure nobody got lost in here. It would be horrible to get locked in here, wouldn't it? We're still walking around from one ward to another. Where's that? Oh my goodness. I hope we don't get lost. Oh my goodness. We've come to the end, darling. We must have got lost. You can see the solid rock that they dug into. Hundreds and hundreds of slaves digging by hand. They ran little railways through it as well, like an underground mine. If people got trapped in the trains, they just left them, they just carried on running over them. Oh my goodness. It's miles and miles of tunnels. Here they have lots of maps, photographs, and descriptions of places and what happened here. Of course, in those days, there was mainly horses carting everything around and little trains. As I said earlier, just to prove me right, here's some of the old tracks. Aren't there anymore, of course. But they, as I said, they're little trains to run things around. Hitler was absolutely obsessed with the islands. He saw it as a coup, a PR coup, to be so close to Britain, to occupy British-owned islands. And he put so many forces here, spent so much money, ridiculous. He would have been better off spending it on the Eastern Front fighting the Russians. It's so spooky. Another secret heavy door to somewhere. And yet another whole complex of tunnels. As I say, they just go on and on. This is one that's actually got some beds left in here to show you what all of these different wards, how many people would be in each one. Darling? Very spooky indeed. We found the mortuary. This is where the bodies were. Oh yeah. This wood still has the original door semi-intact. Yeah, where all the beds, all the people were in there. We're still lost in here. Another escape shaft. I think we might have to end up climbing out one of the escape shafts, you know, darling, if we can't find our way out. Oh
We go look in the kitchen now. Kitchen.
Kitchen. So they've put through all here. Just make it less freezing. So it would make it warm.
Very small kitchen. This is where they're cooking.
This is where we're ready to clean the outside of the water.
Now it's cooking.
There's a lot more